Welcome to Passport Required. I'm Kim Covert, owner and lead travel designer at Silverleaf Travel.
And I'm Gary Covert. Together, we are on a mission to help experienced travelers and would-be travelers get even more informed, inspired, and get moving so that they can enjoy great travel experiences and make memories that will last.
We believe that travel offers so many opportunities to improve the quality of our lives. Travel helps us learn more about the world, ourselves, and those closest to us. It keeps us vibrant, fresh, and connected, and travel helps us celebrate life.
We invite you to join the Silverleaf Travel Facebook page so that we can amplify our impact and help people get off of and stay off of what we'd like to call Someday Island.
We know you're going to love this episode, so let's get after it. It's our first podcast.
Yeah, so exciting.
This
so
is my
exciting.
husband, Gary.
Hey.
My partner in crime.
Yep.
And all things travel.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I'm super excited about this. I told you, I walked around the corner and I saw you with all this podcast set up and I was like, it's really happening. So this is big. And we got a big topic to kick off with. So what is that topic?
we thought we'd start off with why engage with a travel agent?
So I'm out there with my business. I'm out there shamelessly promoting you all the time. And sometimes I'll get the comments like, wow, I'm really surprised that travel agents are still out there. So I thought it would be really important for us to spend a little time and just talk about and go back to the basics of why a travel agent is important and what are some of the myths. So I've got a list of reasons why I think you're just so wonderful. Travel agents like you, but why people ought to. But let's start off with a couple of myths. Why don't you burst a couple of myths for us right off the bat?
Goodness. Well, the first one I always get when I say I own my own travel agency and I'm a travel agent is, do they still exist? Yes, we exist. So many of us, masses amounts of us. Yeah, even in my host agency where I hang my shingle up with, well, there's over 1,000 agents just with us alone. So,
but there's only a few as good as you, right?
That's so true. Thank
right.
you. Yes, we still exist. Here I am, very successful. The other myth is it costs more money to go through a travel agent.
That's the big one.
I always get that. And I think that's a big hesitancy of why people don't reach out to a travel agent. Yes, there are some agents out there that charge a fee. They name it either a planning fee or plan to go or a service fee. They have lots of different names. Just like your tax preparer or an attorney, you're paying for their expertise. So yes, there are some out there, but you're getting a good value and their knowledge and expertise. I personally don't charge fees. That's just a choice I made for my business model. So I have access to all the travel supplier booking engines. And a travel supplier is a ocean cruise line, a river cruise line, one of those escorted group coach tours. So I'm accessing a lot of the sites that the employees for those company access. And
the exact same booking
site.
Yep.
Same system. Most of the time, you're going to be paying at least the same as if you were booking direct. But booking direct includes my commission. I'm based on commission. Yep. So you're paying for someone like me, but you're not getting me.
Right. Yeah. They've got that already baked in. So if there's a price for a cruise or a hotel room or a resort or whatever, they've already baked in that fee.
Absolutely. So you're paying it.
Yeah. So you've already paid for a service fee. So they expect, just like back in the day, they would pay a commission to travel agents to book flights, and that's gone. But that still exists for all the other suppliers that you talked about. So usually it doesn't cost you anything out of pocket to work with a travel agent, and then there's a whole host of benefits. So
yeah, and it might be less because I do have access to some discounts or perks depending on what the trip is. So sometimes it could be a better, and I add to whatever you can book direct. Yeah. So if you have a high status level with a supplier, I can get all of that. So you're not losing anything by working with me.
Yeah, so it's additive.
It's just additive, yeah.
Yeah. The other big myth is that, booking your own travel is just so old-fashioned. I can just do that by myself on the internet. And I think that's such old-fashioned thinking. What do you think about that?
There are people out there who love it. They love to dig into the details and plan every little bit of it. And of course, that's great. That you don't need a travel agent if you love to do that. But people are just so busy. And it's such an outsourcing world right now.
Yeah.
As you mentioned.
Yeah. for me, when I look at people, it's like a lot of people have somebody come in and clean their house. People will even hire a dog walker. You
Mm-hmm.
can hire somebody to go clean your garbage cans. You can, all these different things, landscapers, and there's so many things. And if you ask them why they do it, it's like, well, my time is more valuable. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, you have this other thing that somebody already paid for. Mm-hmm. So, and did your time just not get less valuable? So anyway, if you like that idea of outsourcing your life and getting more efficient, being more productive, and I think it's a no-brainer to work with a trusted travel planner like yourself. Oh, and that also kind of gets to the point about, you call yourself on your business card, it's owner and lead travel designer. Mm-hmm. So
I'm going to design that trip for you.
Yeah.
For you.
You get more than somebody who just books something. And we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. Yeah. But I think those are the two big misconceptions right there. And then there's a whole host of reasons why I think you were just so wonderful, and we can get into those. Would that be a good topic for you? Would you like to talk about just how wonderful you are? Yeah. All right. Well, top of my list, I know you got some others, but I think working with a travel agent, one of the number one things is expertise on locations. Mm-hmm. Being able to tell somebody a little bit about the different locations and really understand those at a deep level.
True. Yeah. And so a little backstory on my career. In my early 20s, living out in Los Angeles, I started working for the motion picture and TV mm-hmm. industry. And I did that for 25 plus years. And towards the end of my career, I worked in an international division of Sony Pictures, and they sent me all over the world doing things.
That was a great job.
That was awesome. So on their dollar, I got to travel, China, Europe, everywhere, multiple times. So I would take advantage of being over there and add on little side trips. And so I haven't been everywhere, but I have seen a lot, and it helps me seeing things firsthand, see how things work logistically mm-hmm. and how a travel supplier works as well. Different cruise lines, river, ocean, escorted tourists, and all-inclusive resorts. I like to see them firsthand and really get a feel of how they work. And so that when my clients go, I can say, well, go here, go do this. This is how this works. For the places that I am not so familiar with, I do have trusted suppliers in destination. So they're the experts, and I uh-huh. have a relationship with them, and I can trust them. Yeah. I lean on them to guide me to put something together with clients. So.
Plus, there's the third. So you get direct information by visiting, your own history of traveling to all these places. And you and I have gone to lots of places too now. So, and then you can learn from your suppliers. Plus, if you look at your website, you've got all these certifications. True. Just tons of them. You're a specialist in all these different areas. It's huge. Plus, I add one more, is that you get so much education from all your clients. Mm-hmm. Every week, you've got somebody traveling someplace. It's like you said that, I haven't been everywhere, but it's on my list. Well, you've got an army of people out there traveling for you, so you can go see, and hear back from them. They'll report back and say, hey, this was wonderful, or what'd you think about that? Or fun fact, Machu Picchu actually has times where there's not that many people there. Who knew?
April. Yeah.
It's possible. Yeah. So I think that the expertise on locations is just enormous. Mm. The other thing that I think is that you can really dial into the differences between, you call them suppliers, but the different cruise lines, the different hotel chains, the different resort chains, mm-hmm. things like that. Maybe explain.
Yeah, so I feel like I've become kind of a matchmaker, mm-hmm. like a vacation matchmaker. Yeah. So you come to me with your list of ideal wants, and then I fit that with the supplier that would fit best for you. I'll give you a couple options. For instance, if someone comes to me and says, I want to go to an all-inclusive resort. I want a nice beach I can swim off of, clear blue water, maybe snorkeling, no kids. But my sister may come and bring her family, so I need something, for them. So we'll find a resort that is an adult only, either connected to a family resort or part of a family resort, so they can have their adult only experience in a destination that has white sand beach and clear blue water. So because I'm continuously educating myself, I can kind of whittle that down for them and give them a few options, and then they can kind of see what speaks to them.
One of the things, and I think the whole through line, we've got a couple more things on, at least I've got a couple more things on my list, is this, the whole through line is trust. People trust you to help them and be in their best interest. And help them get the best experience. So it's not just I'm a resort and I'm trying to sell you on my thing. You're agnostic. You want them to have a great experience.
Absolutely.
So you're like in their corner.
Yes.
And I think that's hugely, your motivations are for them.
Absolutely.
You're aligned with them. It's not you're trying to sell them on a thing. You're trying to help them get where they want to go.
Absolutely.
So I think that's enormous. The other thing that I had on my list was being there when crap hits the fan.
Which, as we knew during the pandemic, a lot of poop hit the fan.
It sure did.
Pandemic and since then. So lots of things can happen.
It was crazy. You were just as busy during the pandemic when nobody was traveling as you are today. Probably more.
Canceling, rebooking. We just didn't know how long it was going to last. So
that was a nightmare. Let's not revisit that. But anyway, so you're there when things go bad, and pandemic aside, other things can go bad.
And it happened before and since. For instance, I had a group of ladies going on a river cruise, and they did a hotel stay prior to that through the cruise line. And one of the women was walking down the hotel steps and missed the last one and fell and shattered pretty much every bone from hip to foot. Luckily, she had travel insurance, so they helped as well. But, the cruise line was wonderful, and getting her a doctor, getting her medically cleared, and her friends just went on the cruise. So I had to be there she was by herself, technically. So we had to move her hotel so that she could be with other travelers, that were with the cruise line, because everybody had left for that sailing. So I was there for her until she got home. And even after she got home, I wanted to make sure she was okay. And, the insurance was paying and everything like that. So
yeah, you've helped people a number of times on that follow up. You make a claim to the insurance, and then you got to follow up. And then just all those little details. And I also remember you told this story a couple times about those. You had some clients that were out on this cruise ship, and this was about the pandemic. I don't want to spend time in pandemic mode too much. Let's move on. But there was that time, that they just couldn't get to a port or something, and you're helping them.
Yeah, it was March of 2020, and it was as things were shutting down and cruise lines were being denied at ports because they didn't want thousands of people to come off of a ship that possibly could have had COVID, even though this ship was out at sea for many days. So, as 3,000 people were lining up to customer service on board because they had to change flights or get a hold of somebody to do something, he would just text me and say, "Hey, we need a new flight out of, the XYZ country." Even though I didn't book his flights originally, I was going to help him get off that ship, or, get off and get home. So every day they were going to a different port because that port would then turn them away. So every day he would text me, and it was like, "Oh, we're going to New Zealand." "Nope." Tomorrow we're going to Fiji." "Nope, we're going back to New Zealand." So I kept changing his flights, and it ended up they went to Hawaii and got back home. So he didn't have to stand in that line. He just was in his cabin texting me.
Every time you would try to put a chip down on a flight for him.
Yeah.
And then
absolutely
just in anticipation. Yeah, that's huge. And that also speaks to what the other thing on my list was. You're there, a really good travel agent. I'm putting you in this category. So everything that I'm saying about good travel agents, I'm talking about my wife. But that's yeah, I think people forgive me. I'm biased, and that's just clear. But anyway, being able to watch out for those little details. So when people think that they're just booking a trip, it's like, it's not just flights. It's not just going to whatever location. There's a lot of little things in the middle.
Yes.
And those things add up. So
yeah, and it could really ruin your vacation. If you book on Expedia, I don't know if Expedia would tell you certain things, like certain visas that you need, or ETA forms for like New Zealand and Australia, or you book an Alaska cruise. This one's big, and many people don't know this, and it's kind of a sensitive subject. But when you book an Alaska cruise and you sail out of Seattle, it has to stop in Canada. All cruise lines going out of the U.S. has to stop in a foreign port. So Canada's one. But with Canada, if you are American and you have a DUI or a felony, doesn't matter, 10 years, 20 years ago, you could be inadmissible to enter Canada, which means you can't board the ship. And if you don't know, and that shows up because they have a connection to our system, then you're denied boarding. So it is a sensitive subject. There's some hoops to go through, but there's things like that. You just need to know.
Yeah. Those kinds of things. So that's legalities, but there's also like preferences. Can you tell us about you?
So I have a lovely couple. I love them. And I totally understand this, but they need to have their bed in a certain configuration so that they don't get seasick, because they get seasick on a cruise, on an ocean cruise. So they need to see the water passing the ship naturally, not
Mhm.
backwards, I guess.
Mhm.
Hard to explain. So when you're laying on the bed, their toes need to be pointing forward. So to do this is kind of challenging depending on the cruise line, because the deck plan, if you can see where the door is, you can kind of tell where the bed is. But some of the cruise lines, they don't show that. So I have another database that has photos of cabins and, specific cabins on specific ships. So you have to dig and find one. And then if it's not that exact cabin that's available, you have to count like every other one or whatever. So you hope for the best that you get the right one. And then I email the ship.
Mhm.
There's a person on the ship and I can email them and they'll walk to that cabin and check it for me.
Yeah.
So things like that.
See, when I hear stories like that, I'm thinking you were well situated for this career. I
love
couldn't do
doing
that. I get so irritated when I see people ordering coffee at Starbucks. I was like, just drink it black. But anyway, so
doing stuff like that, or I got up at 1:00 in the morning to
Yes.
get Anne Frank Museum tickets for my clients.
yes, you did. It's
because they fell out within 2 minutes, and
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah. And then there's all those other little logistical things, those little nuts and bolts that put a trip together. Those could be day excursions. Those could be transfers in between. How do you get from city to city? What's the best way to do that? Cost efficiency,
Train.
train tickets, and just, making it a pleasant experience through the whole thing. And, even like you look at people's layovers internationally, and sometimes you'll give them some advice about
It needs to be so long here.
The length of it.
Mhm.
Plus also, are they going to be comfortable while they're there?
Mhm.
So making sure that they've got a lounge or something, or at least having that conversation with them,
Absolutely.
a lounge for a long layover or something like that. So all those little details.
And
It's
also
huge.
another detail is, because I have such great relationships with suppliers and connections with them, if something should change or they send out a notification about something, I'll get it. I can let you know. I'll usually find out before you do.
Yeah,
in
you're
most
monitoring
cases.
it, and if you're like me and you use Gmail
Yeah,
as
it gets lost.
as a catch-all
Yeah.
for everything, you might not see your travel documents.
Mhm.
And cruise lines are particular. They want you to look at their documents and then sign in and do a thing. And I'm not good at following directions, so
That's why you have me.
it's good. Yeah, I've got a personal travel agent too. So for me, that's really good. And if I were, a client, that would be valuable too, because it's just not on your radar. And you're like, I was supposed to check in. It's like, yeah, you sure were. Yeah, cruise lines like to know that you're checked in for these things.
Oh, and another thing about being there is, if heaven forbid you check in to a resort or whatever you're checking into, and it's not what you booked.
Yes,
You just text
quality control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll go to bat for you.
Yeah. If you book the ocean view and you didn't get it, or Mama Bear is going to come help you
swim
go.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So having somebody in your corner, I think that's huge for all those little details. The other thing that I think is really helpful to what you do is being a sounding board.
Yeah.
I mean, you just kind of work with people. So
Yeah.
tell people a little bit about your process. So when they come to you, what happens?
For instance, I have a couple, the husband's about to retire and they've never traveled internationally. So they kind of want to dip their toe in the international waters, and they really do want to travel. So we're starting off small and doing Cabo. And then we started talking about future trips after that. And they sent me their list of what they're kind of looking for. And now that I've had a conversation with them, I really know, the back of my mind, this would be a good trip for them. That'd be a good trip. So we started talking about it. And I said, Tahiti. And I paused and I said, and I know everybody thinks it's 24 hours to fly there.
Yes.
It isn't. It's an 8-hour direct flight from LA.
Yes.
Super easy. 3 hours past Hawaii.
Yeah.
It's a drink and a movie. It's very easy to get to. Beautiful beaches, French Polynesia, I should say. It's beautiful beaches.
And I'm itching to have a podcast on that subject.
Do this.
We'll both gush about French Polynesia.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And you can do it by cruise. You can do it by resort. You can island hop. There's lots of options. And then we said, what about Costa Rica? It's easy to get to from the States, especially from where we are in Arizona.
Yeah.
And there's mountains and there's beach. There's
great destination.
You can be as active as you want to be, or not at all. It's just a great option. So they are already thinking about trip 2, trip 3, trip 4. So we can kind of bounce off those ideas of kind of what they're looking for.
Yeah. And that people need that. I mean, 2 heads are better than 1. So if you got 3 in the room, the couple and you, I mean, that's even better, right? So that's huge. Yeah. One of the other things is,
which leads to
get off
Someday Island.
Yes. Someday Island. What is Someday
Yes.
Island? I've got a big smile on my face about Someday Island. I think
I think you came up with it, didn't you?
no, I think that came from Dad.
Oh,
I think my father came up with that
that's
somehow.
great.
But anyway, tell people what Someday Island is.
It's when people say, we'll get there someday, or I'll do that someday, or someday I'll plan that, or someday or maybe after I retire, or maybe after kids, or maybe after someone graduates, or maybe someday. Let's get off of Someday Island.
Yep.
We have a travel time clock. It's ticking.
Yeah.
We've lost a few years during the pandemic, lots to make up for. And obviously someday we're going to get old and not as able-bodied.
Yeah.
So do it while you can and you're physically able, because it's harder to do some of these more extravagant or international trips when you're not able-bodied. So do it when you can, because like river cruises or European cobblestones or...
Yeah. I mean, the accommodations might be fine, but to move around in a European country, I mean, there's a lot of the places you want to go are medieval.
Yeah.
So there's stairs and cobblestones and things like that. And even going through a modern airport, you need a certain amount of mobility. I'd probably be able to walk a mile or, at least just to kind of be able to have that mobility. And it's not just mobility for yourself or health for yourself. It's your partner, that person that you probably want to travel with. So now that I just thought about it, there's a risk to ourselves not being able to be healthy enough or mobile enough to do these things. But we also have a partner with whom, most people have a dream that they'd like to go do something with. And if something happens to them. So, I mean, point is,
don't wait.
Don't wait.
And you can book it now for 2 years down the road.
Yes.
That's, if it's a big trip, bucket list trip, you can't do it right now. Book it in 2 years. Yeah. There's a small deposit. You can pay payments.
Yeah.
You just have something to look forward to, but don't wait.
Yeah. And when a person works with a travel agent or somebody like you, I think that process takes away all the questions, because it's the uncertainty that slows people down. It's not the destination. So if there is complete certainty, it's like, well, what happens with this and this and this? Then it goes very fast. They want to get to the destination, but it's all the stuff in the middle. And you help clear that out. Yeah. So when that's all clear, man, you're off to the races and you're gone.
And you're off Someday Island.
You're off Someday Island to someplace wonderful.
Amazing.
Yeah. And the other thing is, and that kind of leads me to this last point for me on my list, was being able to sift through all the BS that's online. So I was talking about that uncertainty. We know where we want to go, but in the middle, there's uncertainty. But if we can get that clear, then we can move faster. But I think somebody like you helps people sift through all the stuff, because everybody's got a shiny brochure.
Yes.
Everybody's got a beautiful website. And it's just...
There should be some major awards out there for marketing, because they have really pulled the wool over some people's eyes.
Well, just like every movie has the best trailer. You look at the trailer and you're like, oh, it must be... Those guys are magicians who put together these trailers to sell a movie. The same thing. The marketers for resorts and everything else.
Not all of them, but there are some. There was another agent whose friend who didn't book through them booked a resort in Spain, I think it was, or Brazil, and they thought it was on the beach by the looks of the website, and they got an ocean view room, and they were going to spend all this time there. I think like 7-8 days or something like that. And they got there, and it's about a mile away. They showed the photo from their room. They're about a mile away. And had she gone to the travel agent, she would have known that that's not on the beach. So, because we know this brand, we know these resorts. So,
yeah. So going into the details, and just like cutting through the BS, and there's a lot of assumptions you can look at. It's like, I think that's what I got. It's like, nope. That's not what you got.
No. And I've been to places where I think, okay, this might not be good for me, but it might be good for a client. But I've also been to places where I'm like, this is not even good for a client. Like, I would never recommend this to somebody. And the website makes it sound like Shangri-La. I was like, this is awful.
Yeah. You get there and you're like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to recommend that one.
So I hope that clears that up for a lot of people. I think that there's a lot of great reasons to work with a travel agent.
What I will ask, though, working with a travel agent, like someone like myself who doesn't charge a fee, all we ask is to work as a partner.
Yes.
So give feedback. Don't ghost me.
Yeah, don't ghost me, bro.
I just need feedback to not nice enough, too nice. Do you want more activity? Do you want less activity? Do you want to change the date? Maybe that date doesn't work. Travel style, anything like that. Just kind of give some feedback. We're a team. I'm working for you. We're a team.
Yeah.
And don't take my information and go book yourself. So,
yeah.
And the only things that I don't handle for my clients are flights on their own, directly with the airlines.
And why don't you do that?
Because they don't pay commission anymore.
Yeah.
So, and you have more control over your flights if you do it yourself.
It's actually better.
It's so much better.
That's actually one of those things. There's an app on your phone, and whether it's Kayak or American Airlines or
it's
something.
With all the changes right now, it's just so much easier for you to do it yourself. There's not the back and forth of
you have to do it real time.
In real time, it changes so fast. So just go ahead and do that yourself. Sometimes I can package it with hotels or through the cruise line. So if I can package it, yes, but just flights on their own, no. And also I don't do VRBOs, Airbnbs because I can't vet those properties internationally. Yeah. And I've heard too many horror stories of it not being the property they rented, or they're walked because there's somebody else in there, or they don't have a reservation. Or would you like to fly, 14 hours and then find out your VRBO is not really there? And you have to
can you imagine? Yeah, the dream of your life, a trip of your life. You show up in Rome at midnight with your bags. Oh. It's sideways.
And VRBO and Airbnb aren't travel agent friendly, and I don't think their customer service is all that wonderful. Although I do have other suppliers that I can book homes and villas through that I trust, that I know have been vetted, and I know they have good customer service, and I feel very comfortable going to bed at night.
That are professional
that house
grade.
Is going to be there when you get there.
Yeah, they're professional grade. They've been vetted.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so those are all the reasons that a person should work with a travel agent. And I think we busted a couple myths related to the costs and that sort of thing. So for this podcast, what are some of the things that people can expect?
We're going to have so much fun doing this.
Yeah.
We're going to delve more into the ocean cruise lines, the rivers, the coach tours, all-inclusive resorts, just those types of travel, dude ranches, rail vacations. But then we're also going to delve into destinations, like we said, French Polynesia, which we love, Costa Rica or Italy, Scotland, Ireland, France, Spain. I mean, we can talk about so many different places.
Yeah, there's so many places, and then there's so many ways. And I'd also expect we're going to be talking about kind of different themes. So a honeymoon travel, couples travel, group travel, singles travel. Yeah. So all those sorts of things. So I'm really excited. We've got a huge list on our mind. This is a passion for us, and we're really,
it's just the beginning.
Yeah. We're excited to share it. So
well, come along with us, grab your passport, because a passport is required.
Passport's required. Let's go.
Let's go. Thanks for listening to Passport Required. Please be sure and join the Silverleaf Travel Facebook page so that we can connect with you. It is also a great place to share your own travel tips, experiences, and wisdom with the Silverleaf Travel community.
If you got something out of this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and also give us a rating and review. We always want to get better, and we will read all of your comments and suggestions for topics so that we can make this podcast the best resource possible. My name is Gary Covert.
And I'm Kim Covert. Thanks for listening, and thank you for being a part of the Silverleaf Travel community.